Welcome back. It's time for us to now get down to the newspaper review. This is Hope at Dawn. My name is Beatrice Nudi.
And my name is George Gishoro. We begin with the Standard, and it's all about Gachagua and impeachment. And they go with the headline, Impeached. Defiant DP, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, was last night overwhelmingly impeached by the National Assembly in a historic motion, despite his spirited defense and that of his closest allies on the floor of the House, and it is now up to the Senate to save or send him home. It's a story you can read on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
And 281 MPs voted yes for his impeachment, 44 voted no, and there was one abstention. Gachagua makes spirited defense in-house. MP accuses DP of money laundering and graft. Public participation reveals disparities. Drama as political daggers are drawn. Full list of how MPs voted in motion and impeachment not priority, say clergy. And so there is a picture there of the DP and a quote, search your conscience and decide if I am guilty of any of these allegations or if I am merely undergoing a political process. If you find there are no grounds, please make the right decision. And it's a quote attributed to the deputy president. And so a lot is happening, and you can read that on the Standard.
Yeah, and of course, right here on the Daily Nation, hawajaachwa nyuma. I think basically the whole of the paper is about Gachagua.
Yeah.
But allow me to just focus on one area here. Gachagua at odds with his boss on police abductions. So I see Deputy President reiterates he is a truthful man and cannot keep silent or support actions that are unconstitutional. So he's spilling the beans and saying DP accuses Haji of misleading the president, who has denied knowledge of forced disappearances. For me, I feel hivi venye unaona over 281 MPs have huyu atoke, they're also afraid huyu mtu atalipua siri. He's not holding back on anything. So definitely, and I see here in August during his town hall meeting in Kisumu, Dr. Ruto said that he was not aware of any case of abduction since the anti-government demonstration started, which sparked criticism from the public and human rights group. But here, Mr. Gachagua's remarks are contradicting the position of his boss, President William Ruto, who has consistently denied knowledge of the unlawful practices. So definitely some things are coming out, and especially things that now affect the Kenyans. Because now if this is coming out, let the games continue.
Definitely. And Rigathi, I learned from the best, my boss. Deputy President denies accusations against him, trashes Parliament, says he did as President Ruto did in his criticism of state officials. And so you can read that inside the Standard. Judges that were left out by Uhuru have been awarded 126 million shillings. Major win for 6 appeal court judges. Well done career. Agri Muchelule, George Odunga, Joel Ngugi, Evans Makori, and Judy Omange, after they were each awarded 20 million shillings each after they were left out by the previous administration. It's a story you can read on page 20. Then a very interesting story, which is on the business section and also on the Business Daily. And they are saying, this is on page 20, they say airlines join bid to block Adani deal. Now, the Kenya Association of Air Operators, now this is a lobby group representing local carriers, opposes the handing over of Kenya's premier airport, JKIA, to Adani, saying any such engagement with a private operator should be done through competitive bidding. So more roadblocks in as far as Adani deal is concerned. And I see on page 9, TSC recruitment deadline has been extended. It's on page 9, and if we can get there so that we get some details for the sake of those who would be interested. Race against time as TSC extends recruitment deadline by 24 hours. Teachers across the country raced against time to apply for thousands of teaching jobs after TSC announced a 24-hour extension of the application deadline. So the application process was a lifeline for many teachers, particularly interns who are hoping for permanent positions. And TSC had set the deadline for October 7th, but the extension until midnight on October 8th came in response to an outcry from teachers. So you need to rush because the deadline is on today. Then on page 16, I see Kenya alert over Marburg virus. That's on page 16. And health authorities heighten checks over viral outbreaks. 12 cases confirmed in Rwanda, hence cross-border concerns. So you can read that as well on page number 16. On the enterprise pullout today, redefining the path to home ownership via technology. It's on page 4 and 5. And why investments in ICT are yet to pay off for businesses. That one is on page 3. Women in tech can't run on inspiration alone. So that is on the enterprise pullout. Why don't we go to the county section?
Yes.
And they are saying Governor Mwangaza, you remember she was impeached?
Yeah.
So Governor Mwangaza fights for delay of Ulster, hits out at Kingi. So Meru governor pleads for extension of court order allowing her to remain in office as case proceeds. Senate Speaker pokes holes into her High Court suit seeking to overturn her impeachment. So you can read that on page 17. And the youth call for climate action ahead of COP29. The climate justice camp is being held in Arusha, the first time in sub-Saharan Africa, and the camp seeks to come out with a collective voice that will be presented at COP29. And commotion as Speaker is ejected from his seat, that is in Nyamira County. And Kangata Care and Muranga Youth Service shortlisted for Africa Award. That is in the county news section. The business section, I mentioned this one. Local airlines join bid to block state's JKIA Adani lease proposal. Lenders freeze loans as CBK cuts benchmark rate. That is on the business section. The world news, Israel expands offensive against Hezbollah. Hamas in Lebanon. Iran-backed Hezbollah says it has fired rockets at city of Haifa. Israeli army warns people to stay away from southern and eastern Lebanon. And Duo wins physics Nobel for foundational AI breakthroughs. You can read that on the world news section. Tuende kwenye sporty and why Musa Otieno is unhappy with Stars playing on foreign soil. The former Harambee Stars captain takes a dig at the government for failing to renovate stadiums on time. Kenya will be hosting Cameroon in a crucial 2025 AFCON qualifiers match in Kampala. And that match will be played on Friday this week. I also see out goes Barry Otieno, in comes Patrick Korir as FKF CEO. And FKF CEO Barry Otieno has thrown in the towel ahead of the delayed national elections slated for December 7th. And he has been replaced immediately by Nairobi City Stars boss Patrick Korir to serve in an acting capacity as Otieno's replacement barely an hour after he announced his resignation yesterday. And Man City legal case explained as EPL and league champions claim victory. It's on page 30 and 31. And Red Bull to fly without Ricciardo wings. Daniel Ricciardo competed in last weekend's Singapore Grand Prix. 8-time F1 race winner leaves Red Bull, replaced by Liam Lawson. It's on page 29. That is what's being reported inside the Standard.
All right. And coming down to the Daily Nation, and of course, we ought not need to repeat because we are going to see that even in the Daily Nation, from pages 2 all the way to 10, we have Gachagua covered. But here it is saying that we can only wait for a miracle. Only a miracle can secure this position. But you know, yesterday we were just listening to the whole thing, and it really brought to my attention just how fame and the money and all these positions are just passing clouds. You know, one day people can decide to bring you down and there's nothing you can do about it. You can can only be frustrated. And the very thing that you thought is going to bring you peace and is going to give you power becomes the very thing that is stressing you
now
out.
The thorn, as Paul would say,
in your flesh.
In your flesh.
So definitely only a miracle can get him out of this. But also, it's also for us to realize that, I mean, if you are chasing these powers and positions, it's like chasing the wind. You can get there, and then when you're up there, things are just crumbling and you don't even know your fate anymore. But we continue to wait and see how this goes on. One thing I know is that God's purposes will happen. But more on the stories that are on the Daily Nation, I see here a story on page 13. Unfortunately, patients settle bills in cash as chaos persists. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health said mambo imekuwa sambamba, but the truth of the matter is this is not still the case. Authorities give statements at press conference, but patients, hospital workers interviewed say things are different on ground. So unapata kwamba kule nje tunaambiwa mambo yako sawa. Just yesterday we covered that things are now good and everything is fine, but kwa ground vitu kumbe ni different. So I'm seeing here that government officials continue giving promises as families look for cash to settle medical bills. It's what they like to say. They're selling hope. But the truth of the matter is it's all mounted on lies, because inwardly kule ndani unapata kwamba bado zile challenges zinaendelea and patients still have to pay their bills, and we hope sanity will be restored in that area. And page 12 it's a story on Ruto writing to Africa leaders on Raila AUC bid. So PS plays down the Anglophone and Francophone divide in the ongoing campaigns. Foreign Affairs PS Koreil Singoe telling us that when we came back from New York, the president signed letters to all heads of state on the continent. And still, we have a story on page 11 here titled Grand Haste. KNTC admits to loss of 6.6 billion shillings in cooking oil scam. Corporations officials say the money was lost due to fluctuation in exchange rates, clearance and warehousing costs. But definitely a lot of questions are being asked. 6.6 billion, that's definitely a huge amount. But allow me to run to the DN2 because I see a story of hope here. I waited 8 years for a child. Reverend Jacinta Kyuge knows what it means to wait patiently, cry secretly, and trust that eventually God answers prayers. Her story captures the agony of many women who yearn to become mothers. This is a story on the Parenting DN2 today that is on page 2. Quite inspiring. We see Rev Jacinta here testifying. Our beautiful baby came at midnight. We took time to think and pray over her name and named her Victoria. So every time we call her name, we remember that it was about the victory of the Lord. This is so powerful and beautiful. 8 good years. It's definitely a long time, but this is a story of hope that when that child comes, he or she will be an indication of something profound. For them, it was a victory, and so they named the child Victoria. Beautiful story. Understand that infertility is not so common for women in their 20s, so it raised concerns because she expected that since she is in her 20s, then this would have not been a problem, but then she experienced this. But sometimes these things happen so that God gets the glory and we get to celebrate a miracle just like we are now. And I see page 3, quite an interesting title, Choose a Husband Worth Submitting to. Where ni noma. A person's present attitude is the most accurate prophecy of their tomorrow. When you are in the dating phase, na unaona vitu haziko sawa. Acha kujiambia ati atabadilika mkiingia marriage. I'm telling you, it makes things worse. I know. It will just, whatever you see in your dating is just going to be 10 times more when you get to marriage. Please, choose wisely. Ladies, wacheni mbio ati, I want to get married. I'm telling you, marriage is more than just having someone. and people seeing on social media that you're married and posting on TikTok, you guys dancing to challenges. It is more than that. We're talking of a lifetime of living with someone. So definitely choose wisely and ask for God's guidance. And I see here, page 4, the stifling weight of unspoken expectations. This is also on the parenting DN2 today. And coming down quickly, just briefly on the business today, credit to mining doubles after lift of permit freeze. This is NMG official pays ICT principal secretary a courtesy call. This is a story on page 22. And coming down to the sports, page 30, Kenya enters big space of Africa's world beating road racing cyclist. And I see page 31, Stars and Olunga fine-tuned for clash with Lions. On the back page today is the story that you covered, so I won't be repeating it, but it's about Uhuru rejection of 6 judges costs taxpayers. I love how they've put it. Imetu cost.
Yeah.
Makose yake imetu cost 126 million shillings.
Yeah.
How unfortunate is that? President Kenyatta rejected the 6 judges citing integrity concerns but did not divulge details regarding the decision. And I can see a picture of them. They are all smiling and they are all laughing because there is it 20 million
each
shillings richer. Well, it is well. Taxpayer. Haina shida. Mungu ndio wetu.
Exactly. All right. Can I check the Business Daily?
Sure.
Kenya makes fresh bid to end power sales in dollars. Wandai says Kenya Power mulling talks with IPPS. Foreign currency billing blamed for high electricity costs. I see geothermal power supply on grid dips, hydropower surges, and SHA reverts to manual claims on system glitch. So they are now back to manual. Yet we have a technology that cost us, I think, 100 million or something. Anyway, cash in fixed deposit accounts hits 2 trillion. So the amount of money in savings held in fixed deposit accounts crossed the 2 trillion shillings mark for the first time in July. That's a story on page 14. And the CBK cuts main lending rate by biggest margin since COVID-19. It's a story that you can read on the Business Daily. And I see a quote here by Chris Kiptoo. Kenya's public finance management is on the cusp of a major transformation with a transition to accrual accounting system. So that's what's being reported in the Business Daily and other dailies. So you can grab your copy and get to read what's happening in our nation.
Oh, yes. And it's time for us to now have a look at the video of the day. Let's look at it and then we'll come back to ichambue kidogo even as we prepare to usher in today's convo.